to another episode of Sanctified Stilettos with Heather E. Burton. Or should I say Dr. Heather E. Burton? Where saved and sexy intersect, and where we have conversations around faith, feminine, and anything that's fearless. Today I am so excited because I have my friends in the house. You know those people who you can call, and when you call, you give them limited information and they still say yes? That's what happened today, is that I called them and I gave them very limited information, but they showed up for me. And so I'm really excited to have them, and we're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about images. We're going to talk about hair. We're going to talk about clothes. We're going to talk about who we are and how that is personified within the media, and not only in the media, but just in our everyday lives, and how people look and see them. So before we get into all of that, I want them to introduce themselves, because y'all, first of all, let me say, these are some beautiful women. Mm-hmm. When you see them, and you typically see them on camera, but if you've never had an opportunity to see them in person, they're just as beautiful as they are on camera. And that's inside and out. It's, often you meet people and you see just the outside and their physical appearance, but these are four women who exude beauty internally as well as externally. And so that's why I asked them to be on this show, because I wanted you all to see what it means to be in the light, in the limelight on camera, but also how that image of arrogance doesn't follow them. They don't have arrogance, they don't have conceitedness, but they do have confidence. Now, don't get it mistaken. They are very confident in who they are, but when you meet them, they are the same on camera and off, and just great women. And so I'm going to start with Remy, and Remy's going to introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about you, Remy.
Heather, I think the funny thing is, people are always so shocked at how short I am. I don't know why.
How tall are you?
I'm a good 5'3", and I don't know why I get this.
5'3".
Yeah, I don't know why I get this illusion that I'm
5'3".
taller than what I am. But I think that's the fun fact. But yeah, I'm Remy Murray. I'm from Detroit. I've been in Cleveland for more than 3 years working here. It's been a blessing. I think that what we were talking about off camera is that I never expected that I would be here in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. God has always ordered my steps, and that's how I'm here now. It's been a journey for more than 7 years that I'm very grateful and blessed to be on, from meeting you and Shannon and Danita and Sia, and so many people in the community who have embraced me and gave me a home away from home. So I'm excited to continue connecting and just seeing where life leads me.
Yes, I love it. And Remy, you know how I feel about you. Y'all. Sorry.
Can we say that?
Right.
Are we allowed to say that?
Tell us how you really feel.
Remy, when I first met Remy has this energy. And this energy that just comes across.
Yes.
And you don't get it everywhere. Like, Remy's not going to give you all of Remy all the time.
Right.
Yes.
But when you get Remy and truly get Remy, it's just a light that is so great. And so just appreciate you. Yeah. And Shannon, tell us about Shannon. Now, let me tell y'all about Shannon.
Uh-oh.
I did just say let Shannon tell you about yourself. But I do have to say this, is that Shannon and I met at a birthday party.
We did.
We met at a birthday party, and instantly, she said if I needed anything, that she would be willing to help. You don't say that to me, because y'all know what's going to happen. I'm going to put you to work. And sure enough, Shannon has done several things for me, and I just appreciate her. And so I'm going to let Shannon tell a little bit about herself.
Always. When you call, I answer. But she did use that inbox real quick. No, but you always have good stuff. And I don't say that to everybody, of course. But my name is Shannon Smith, and I've been in Cleveland now for 5 years. Yeah. I've been in the business for almost 15, which is crazy to think about. Yeah. That's wild, right? I know. But I really enjoyed Cleveland. Like Remy said, it was not on my radar to come here at all. I was living in Buffalo, New York, and it was during the pandemic. And my then boss looked for me and found me, and I was like, I don't know, can I go to Cleveland? And it's so funny because I was so intimidated to come to Cleveland. Now that I look back, I was like, man, I don't know, can I perform on that level? And now I'm here with you guys, so just here. Because it really is a wild ride. And I think most people don't realize that we all, no matter what channel you watch, we all know each other.
Right.
And we all like each other, okay?
Yes.
Don't let anybody tell you different.
Right.
We all see each other. We all hang out in other spaces too, and it's nothing but love every time we see each other. But yeah, I do. I love Cleveland. Cleveland is a city that is underrated. We were saying that it is a hidden gem. gym, and I brag more about Cleveland than Clevelanders do, just because it's like there's pride in your city, and I'm from Chicago, South Side, so maybe that's why I don't compare the two, because I think that Cleveland has a lot of great things that Chicago has, that people just aren't aware of. So I love it. Yeah.
And you know, you said that, and I think one thing that I've noticed is I feel that Clevelanders don't appreciate Cleveland the way people who are transplant appreciate Cleveland.
No, because people say that all the time. They're like, well, you're from Chicago. Like, what? And I said, do you realize what you have? You have, first of all, you got sports teams. I mean, real sports teams. And they all play next to each other. Okay? Chicago, you don't have that. Yeah. You also have a great food scene. You have all these things that other cities, and we know because you've lived in other cities and worked in other cities, you don't have all that.
Right. Yeah. But I always hear that. I hear that, especially from people from Cleveland, is I can't stand Cleveland. I don't like Cleveland. And I'm like,
go somewhere else.
I
the price
love
of living.
Cleveland. What'd you say, Shannon?
I said, go somewhere else. The price of living.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Ain't that the truth?
You'll love Cleveland real quick.
You'll love it real quick. Real quick. Appreciate everything that you have. But like you said, there's things to do. And I think that's the other thing, is that you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And when you step outside of your comfort zone, you realize what's in Cleveland. And as transplants, you all were forced to learn Cleveland, unlike people who take it for granted and they're here. Danita.
My name is Danita Harris. I've been in television for 36 years now. Love it, love it, love it. And I really do love Cleveland. So, you know, Sam Silk nicknamed me Danita Cleveland because I have really fallen in love with the community, fallen in love with the people, and really I try to do my best to help people. And I think that's part of the job, you know, not just to be at the anchor desk and report, but get into the community and help out. People want to see you. And so that is something that Cleveland loves. And I've learned that. So I really am just blessed to be here. And Heather's not going to say this, but Heather, you know, pretty much tells me what to do. Shannon, I understand where you were coming from. I don't get too much. I mean, it's a slight nice ask, but it's more like a, you know, telling
you hear them talking about me like that.
A voluntold. Like a voluntold. You know, we've been friends for so long. I just know when I need to do. So I'm here today because just like all of us, we knew we had to be here, right?
I didn't even answer her at first, and then when I finally did, she was like, "Oh, you're the last one." I was just waiting on you.
See, I'm telling you, case closed.
Right.
There it is.
I was like, I was just waiting on you, Shannon, for us to schedule a date.
And that is Dr. Heather Burton.
Doctor.
She was.
I will find you.
Yes,
I know where to
yes,
find
yes,
you.
she
I know
does.
how to
Yes,
find
yes,
you all.
yes.
That's what happens when you give me your cell phone number. But let me say this, because I don't want anybody to think, not you all, but just because you give me your cell phone number, now you got to have something going on for me to want to invite you.
True.
Let me say, these ladies have something going on, which is why they're here today.
I can't.
Sia, tell us about yourself.
Name is Sia New Yorker. Yes, that's really my name. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, so I'm a Hoosier girl. Been living in Cleveland about 10 years. Came here for work. Like many said, it was not on my radar, but I love it here. Absolutely love it. Like Shannon said, it is such an underrated city. I love the people. I love the food. I love the community. I love the stores, the stories, I mean, everything. Like, people are always surprised. They're like, wow, you've really blossomed there. And I'm like, yes, you bloom where you are planted. And I feel like that's what I've been able to do. And so I'm just happy to be here. I feel community here, and, you know, that's it.
Yeah. So I was sitting here thinking, and I teased Shannon before we even got on camera, and I keep looking around, and I'm like, you know, whenever I do anything, typically there is another Delta in the house, but today there are like 3 Deltas in the house and one AKA. So we have some.
I wore green on an accident. Green is my favorite color, and I just happened to wear it. No, I didn't, because it did click. I said, oh man, I'm about to be in a room with
all these Deltas.
Kind of went over my head.
I know.
Well,
I'm wearing red for Christmas.
So she said.
Right.
Real.
It's funny though, because I often don't even, that's not the first thing on the radar. So that, you know, of course, the membership into our organization is not the first thing on the radar. But then once I booked the show, I was like, I got all these Deltas on this show. And
brought my
Shannon
own.
in the midst, my AKA friend Shannon in the midst, but it's all love, and we all know that.
yes,
So none of
yes.
us,
Lots
you
of
know,
love,
none of
lots
us,
of
it's
love.
all love. But it's I started thinking about, okay, I'm gonna have to have a show where it's not Deltas on the show. Like I'm gonna have to find some people that's not a member of Delta Sigma Theta
Find
to
some
be on
other
this show.
friends.
I gotta find some other friends. Doggone it. So, but you all, when you think about who you are, so we have an image of you. We see you every day on the news. We see you making appearances. And so we put you on a pedestal. We put you in a certain category. And sometimes that category is untouchable. Sometimes we think that you are not the friendly people that you really are and that you're untouchable. What image do you think people overall have of you? And what would you say your image is?
We're all judged because we are broadcast journalists and we're on television. Number one, let's just put it out there. We're all judged. People think that we're, arrogant, that we have everything together, that we are better than them. And I think people have that before they even meet us just because of the profession. And I'm going to go here because of some people that they have encountered that treat them like they are less than and they are greater than because they're on television. I think that when you get into this position, and what I've tried to do is that I am who I am, but this is just a job like a teacher, the man that picks up the trash, whomever. It's just my profession, but I am a person first who does television, right? So I believe my image is one of a woman who is on purpose, who is down to earth, approachable, and very giving. And not selfish and not thinking that I'm better than you because I'm on TV. But I will say every one of us here, we have had to fight that stereotype because whether they say it to your face or not, and it's been said to my face, I started not to come here today to hear you because you can't relate to anything that I'm going through. And I want to apologize to you because if we're not willing to take off the mask from television and if we're not ready to be transparent, then that stereotype will follow us, So it's all in how you work to create that image that you are down to earth, that you are approachable, that you do say hi in Target, you do say hi in Victoria's Secret, even though you got to bite that chicken wing, you put it down to say hi.
We got to say hi in Victoria's Secret.
You got to say hi in Victoria's Secret. Because the people, I think one of the things that we know as broadcast journalists, we're coming into people's homes.
Yes.
And this is something they don't teach you in school. And I tell students, if you're not a people person, don't do this.
Don't
do
do
this.
it.
If you're not a
Yeah.
people person, don't do this.
Yeah.
Because it will require you to have those interpersonal skills
Yes.
that will give you, here's the word, the connection that you want with your viewers. Anybody can get up there and read, but how many people can connect?
Yes.
That is something authentic. That is something genuine. That's your flavor. That's my flavor isn't Remy's or Shannon's or Sis. We all got our own flavor, but we bring that to the table. And I think you have to know how to do that and value that because that's what viewers like to see.
And I think with that connection, that's why people, like, literally, I went to the grocery store the other day, and somebody was like, Shannon, and he was like, my bad, because when I turned around, I said, hey, but he was like, oh, I'm talking like I know you. I said, it's cool, what's up?
Right.
I'm just trying to get my chicken thighs for
Right.
dinner, what's up, what you getting? What's
Right.
your cart? Like, it really is, like, it's fine, and I don't mind that at all, because it is, I tell people all the time, I shop at Walmart same as you do, I pay taxes same as you do, my family treats me the same. I think it is about, like, having a very good support system around you that keeps you humble. Like, I'm the youngest of 4. My parents and family is proud of me.
Right.
My friends are too, but they treat me the exact same. They
Right.
never have switched up on me. It doesn't matter how many times I'm on TV. So I think for that, you have to know who you are before you get into this role, because if not, they're going to tell you. People are going to tell you who you are. This industry is going to tell you who you are. You have to know that and stand firm in that. And like Janita said, I think who I am as a person is what makes me the best on-air personality or anchor or
Correct.
reporter. That's what makes me the best because of who I know I am. That way nobody can tell me who I am once I'm on TV. And it is about connection. To me, for when I first started in this business, I was very reserved. I mean, holding papers, I ain't move much, but I am animated as all get out, okay? Like, sometimes I'm like, God dang, girl, you ain't got to do that. But I am, so it's like I am that way on TV. And once I let that guard down of like, oh, I could just be myself, that's what people want to see in the first place.
Yeah.
I remember somebody told me, like, I love when y'all mess up. And I was like, what? And she was like, because it just shows you're
shows you're
human.
real.
You're human.
It shows you're not a
You're
robot.
human.
It shows you're not,
Yes.
you're not just there. And I think that's what people want to see. Gone are the days where, they just wanted to see an anchor who was all prim and polished and it was cool. Now they like, no, I want to know you're a real person. That what you're reading, you're reacting to.
Correct.
You understand the gravity of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And how it's impacting everybody.
So, and I don't know if you all had anything to say, but I have another point. So do you all see yourselves as celebrities?
No. And
Why not? Tell me why
I'll
not.
tell you, one of the things that makes me feel so good, and it's a high compliment, when people come up to me in the community and they say, Sia, you're just like us. And I say, well, yeah. They're like, I see you on TV, you're laughing, you're kikiing, you're snorting, and then I do it, in person, and they're just like, they're like, you're just as silly in person as you are on TV. And that makes me feel good. I'm like, well, what else am I supposed to do? And then they'll tell me, well, you're professional and you're compassionate and and I'm like, that's how we're supposed to be. So no, we're not, I'm just like you. And, to piggyback off what, Danita and Shannon said, like, we connect with people. This is just, we're authentically ourselves. When you're not trying to be somebody else, you're just yourself. That's how you connect. Yeah.
And I will tell you, Sia will snort.
I will kiki, snort.
So Sia and I had the opportunity to really get to know each other of all places in the Bahamas.
Come on.
In the Bahamas on a trip.
That's what we doing the next episode.
That's how we got to know each other. We were on a trip, and Sia came by herself. It was a trip for Delta, but Sia came by herself, and that's how we really got to connect and know each other. And I laugh because when Sia laughs, you're going to laugh.
You're gonna laugh.
Like you're gonna laugh because she's laughing. But I'm surprised, and I know you all don't, but I'm surprised that you don't see yourselves as celebrities because y'all know y'all celebrities, don't y'all?
I know
Well,
we're
I would say that
local,
to piggyback, no, I don't see myself as a celebrity because I truly do believe that I'm doing God's work. And because of that, it amazes me to see the rooms that I'm in, the people that I connect with. I don't take it for granted because it's not my strength. So no, I don't see myself as a celebrity. I'm a human. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. It may look like that I'm perfect, but I'm not. So to even think of myself as on that level does not show humility. So no, I genuinely, like everyone, just to piggyback off of what everyone said, I just carry myself as a reflection of doing God's work. So who you see on camera is the same person off camera. I know everybody's been like, oh, you're quiet. I'm like, sometimes I just have to save some of that energy. But, I'm really the same person in every encounter, every room that I enter in. And I think that's what makes us all so unique.
Yeah. And it does. I know, and I'm laughing because I want y'all to know y'all celebrities. So I know you don't see yourselves as that.
Yes.
But if you ask anybody, they're going to label you as that.
Yes, they do.
I mean,
Yes,
I
they do.
appreciate
Yes,
they do.
the humility. I appreciate everything. But the reality is what the reality is.
It is. I know. And I always say that.
away.
Listen.
Student loans.
Listen.
I get that, but that doesn't define the
Public
status.
perception.
And the
Public
public
perception is
of
we
who
are
you
celebrities.
And
yeah.
also, it's that we all, nothing is promised. Nobody's jobs is promised nowadays. So
Right.
it's like, we be here, may not be there
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Starbucks
Yeah.
barista.
Listen, so that's why I think too.
Well, I will take
And I
a
think
grande caramel
Give me the
macchiato
little
upside
strawberry
down.
drink.
And I would say being in this position, like being on TV, is giving me a different understanding of celebrities that we see. Like, it's like they're just human too. Even though they're an actor, an actress, a singer, you're still going through real life,
Yes.
just like
I am.
the person
Yes.
who's not on TV. And so it's giving me a different appreciation. So if I do see a celebrity, it's like I want a fangirl, but also I always ask myself, would you want that? Let me probably go up to them like, hey, how you,
Yeah.
because it's like they're probably off, relaxing. So I just put myself, I guess I have a different appreciation to say the least.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
And I
true.
think that's what happens too, is that when you start getting popularity from whatever work you do, you have an appreciation for folks who are in that light, and that they're human, and they have lives, and that they live lives. I'm thinking of you, Shannon. I felt my arms going to animation.
Listen,
you know, that's me. My arms just want to go.
Somebody commented on something, either I or my co-anchor post, and they said, "Does everybody have to talk with their hands?" I said, "Ooh, my bad, my bad." I said, "I do."
You're right.
We all
just,
do.
Outfit.
And it's natural. I think it's natural. And look, now I'm going to say this. I think it's natural specifically for Black women. Is that we are hand talkers because we just are expressive no matter.
Yes.
See us back there with her
I
hands.
know.
going
I
like,
thought I was sitting there
See what was
I was like, I guess I
Yeah,
do
well,
it
you,
live.
you do, and it's just a natural thing. I
We did.
remember
We talked about
on
our hands.
something I was doing, and I had it was one of the radio show, and I had Ken cracking up because I was like, when I got to do the Black girl clap on you,
Yes.
that means it's time for me to
mad.
pull back.
Uh-huh.
But shifting gears a minute, I want to shift to when we talk about images and you all's image. How often do you think about what you wear?
I love to get dressed. So I think about what I wear. Like, I'm going to see Hell's Kitchen with my mom Saturday. I'm not sure when this airs, but I'm going to a play. I'm thinking about my outfit then because I feel like when I look good, I feel good.
Yeah.
So, you know, my mom has always been a diva. She gets on my nerves, but I love her. She's always been someone who's been meticulous about her hair, her outfit. I mean, she never looked like what she was going through, and I admire that about her. So I've taken that on, and I have my own flair. She may just wear black, but I wear bright colors, or I wear stuff that fits me well, or just expresses who I am in my outfit. But, you know, it translates on air. Like, it just makes me feel good. Like, ooh, gives me that extra confidence, like that energy that I need if I'm having, you know, it's dull outside. So it's like, oh, at least I look nice.
Looking bright.
Yeah.
I'm an emotional dresser. I am an emotional dresser, but I'm going to say this.
Well, tell me more about
Emotional dressing is if I'm down, I wear red. If I'm in a down mode, I'm gonna wear red. I'm gonna wear orange. I'm gonna wear green. If I am feeling fat, I'm wearing black. Okay, like on a day I've been eating. So I'll wear black because black slims you. The camera puts weight on you. But here's what I'm gonna say about women in the media, especially on television, which bothers me. Women in the media, broadcast journalists, we always have to think about our clothes.
Yes.
Because if we repeat the same thing, you got to almost go 2 weeks with no repeat. But the male counterpart next to you can wear the same suit 3 times in 1 week and change a tie, and no one says anything.
No.
Here's the next thing, and the people who will get on the women are women.
Yes.
Women are the first ones that will tear you down about your clothes, will tear you down about your weight, will tear you down about your makeup. Women will go against women, and that is something that I wish we would not do. And not judge. Everybody on here has their own style, and it is what it is, and we are good in our lane and what we are. But don't make, why don't you dress like so and so? Why don't you wear your hair like so and so? And that comes from women. And women are against women. So yes, we know we have to think about our clothes because people are going to talk about us if we wear the same thing within 2 weeks. I had one time I wore a dress. Oh, you wore that dress last Friday. Dang, I forgot. But thank you for emailing me. Thank you for taking the time
I forgot.
to send me an email. They're on women. Women
So what do
are
you
on
all
women.
do? Do you do when you wear an outfit?
So
do you
keep the
recycle in your closet?
Yeah, you do. You keep
I just
track
put it
of
in
it in
the
your
bag.
closet. And you
Or
put it
just
in
I wore
the
that
bag.
shirt.
I like,
Yeah.
'cause, you know,
Yeah.
if you've taken a picture in it or if you
Yep.
posted it, and it's like, oh, okay, I just wear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
they
let you
keep
say
track.
go.
Yeah, I got a 6-week rotation. I'm like,
6 weeks. with no
yeah,
repeats?
I'm a shopaholic clothes horse.
But this is I was here in Shopaholic when I heard that. I'm trying to get my closet like that. Yeah.
6 weeks, no repeat.
Probably.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I probably
6 weeks, no repeat.
And when I think about what's in my closet, if I was on air, I probably could have about a 6 week.
No.
With no,
Yeah, I do have a lot of clothes.
but that's because I
necklaces or
shopped
different
in
Yeah, I
buy.
know. I shop a lot.
I
I
shop
do
a
the
lot.
same too.
Top, but maybe
See,
a
I'm the
different
old
vibe.
head.
Yeah, you gotta
That's
like
why
mix and match.
I'm the OG up here.
Girl.
No. Now I
But
can
this
go
is what
like
I
3
will
weeks,
tell
but not
people.
6.
This is my advice.
No,
is that
I don't.
You do wear necklaces.
Yeah, you wear necklaces. You wear
I am a
necklaces.
necklace.
But this is what I would tell people is. What you say?
I do necklaces.
She swaps necklaces.
Necklaces,
I
don't
do. I
you?
swap necklaces and it can make it look different.
That's
But
what makes it different.
Instead of ties, she's a necklace swapper.
Exactly.
I am a necklace person.
But I would tell people who have something to say to you all, guess what? buy him an outfit.
Listen,
Yeah.
you want to
Sponsor them.
sponsor?
Right,
Come
you want
on.
to sponsor?
I tell people I get up so early.
Yeah.
The least I could do is that's what gets me up early is to be able to dress nice. Like is to be able to pick out my outfit that the night before. I'm like, okay, let me try this. Now, does everything work out? No. It's times I look back and I'm like, maybe I should have
wasn't
worn
the
that.
thing to wear.
Or my
Yeah.
mom will text me like, girl, that dress is a little short. Okay, sorry, I got long legs. I tried. It's fine.
Right.
Oh yeah, sure.
No,
I
it's
was
the
up in there.
moms
Mom
that'll
always
get
up in
you.
there.
Before you even get off the set,
Oh yeah.
Mom is texting.
you know,
yeah.
what's that looking
Don't
like
let me
that?
know.
And
Post on Facebook a selfie and my grandma like the eyebrows.
It's your family that'll get you right.
I
it's
thought
the
that's
women.
all day. I'm
It's
like,
the
how was
women.
the eyebrows today, Grandma? It's
But,
the
but
women.
you know what? If that's the stuff that keeps you humble. That's the
Yes.
stuff.
No, for real.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Yes.
I think about when Danita just talked about it, it's the same thing with ministry. Is that I tell my male counterparts, you never have to think about what you wear.
Nope.
But I have to think about what I wear every time I
That's
get up.
right.
And you can't repeat.
Yeah.
No, you better not.
Unless you go into another church.
No.
And now you can't repeat. And this is the same
Yeah,
thing
don't
with
let it be
media.
tight.
And you also have to be careful as a woman because I know I pay attention to how it hugs me
Oh, yeah.
or not.
Yes.
Because there have been times I'm like, well, I'm not gonna wear that again, all because of the comments that I was getting from men that I was like, now would you say that to your niece or your daughter or your somebody else?
Yeah.
And so you do have to like
do.
pay attention to that.
And
which is
because
a lot.
I'm hippie, that
Understood.
I got a little extra hip sometimes. that when I put on certain stuff, if it's not a line,
Right,
in
right.
the pulpit,
Understood.
it's a little cupping, and I be like,
Understood.
oh.
And,
But guess who's gonna tell you?
the motherboard, that motherboard gonna tell you
They gonna
something.
tell you. And I don't need the motherboard. All I have is Yvonne Burton to send me a text message or message and say, you know that you don't need to have that on no more. So how do you choose, or how did you learn to choose the colors that complement you?
That's
It's the
trial
most
and error.
The
Yeah,
compliments
that's trial
that
and
you just
error.
keep getting and
Yeah.
trial and error,
Yep.
error. But really the compliments like, oh, you said you like that color? Let's
I,
Yeah, trial and
I
error.
wear
Build
the
it constant.
rainbow.
Yeah.
I wear the rainbow. That's it. Jewel tones. That's it.
Yeah.
It pops. And it's funny because when I was working in more conservative markets like Kansas, the consultants there, because we have consultants, they were like, oh, you have to wear navy, black, gray, brown. And I mean, I am not that kind of, don't pay attention to what I have on now.
No.
But that's what we had to wear. And it was so boring. I mean, I just wanted to die. And then I got to, different markets as I moved up in my career, and I was just like, I'm done with that. Like, and I just started wearing hot pink and scarlet and polka dots and stripes and stuff, and nobody said anything, and that's it. And so now I wear the colors I want, and I wear the rainbow.
You
That's
gotta
it.
know
It just makes
what
you
works for
pop.
you. Like, right.
What
You
works
gotta
for you.
know if you know your own personal style, what colors you really love
Correct.
and feel good in, and what shade of eyeshadow or whatever, then it naturally is gonna be fine on air, because
Yeah.
you already know what colors pop for you.
And I'm going to tell you that some things that look good in the mirror don't necessarily translate well on camera.
Listen.
And that is something you will learn. It may look good in the mirror, and if you went out to a luncheon or something like that, it looks great. When you get in front of that camera, it's going to drive the iris crazy.
Yes.
The patterns and stuff like that, or florals, or sometimes
Yeah.
it comes, and sometimes it doesn't come off well, so you don't look as good as you thought. Like in the mirror, look good, but in the camera, it didn't look
That's
well.
real.
Yeah.
And that's why I say trial and error. You will find out. I can't do that again.
So how much freedom do you all have in choosing what you wear?
Oh, I choose my clothes every day. Nobody tell me
freedom.
different.
Yeah, all freedom.
Because they
All
really, as
freedom.
long as you look fine,
Fine,
and
they
you
not
look
saying anything.
presentable, like
Yeah.
I said, it's a personal thing, then nobody's ever
They're
going to
not
say
saying
you can't
anything.
wear that, you can't do this,
Yeah.
you can't.
So
yeah.
do you dress the same on air
Yes.
as you do when you leave?
Yes, because that is what I'm actually trying to build my closet to be, is where it's like what I wear on air can translate to what I wear out with my friends or to church, like to
Yeah.
find that mesh. So it's not like, when I first started, I had like the reporter dress.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at it
Right.
like, I do not like any of these dresses anymore because they don't fit who I am becoming.
Yes.
So that's why I'm now trying to have my closet be universal instead of like separated. Because
Yeah.
even in my closet right now, it's just, these are my work clothes. These are like my going out, and then my jackets, but I want it to all like come together. Like this dress I have on now, I can wear to work, but I can also wear, to brunch or going to church or something. So that's my goal.
So Remy, I want to touch on something though. You just said something.
What did I say?
You said in who you are becoming.
Oh,
Yes.
What is that, Remy? Tell
I
me.
don't know, actually. I think that going back to what Sia said, you blossom where you're planted. And being here in Cleveland, I have seen myself blossom in a way that I did not expect. I don't know who I'm becoming, honestly, and I'm curious to get to know her. Whenever I go back home, I'm always so happy to hear how my family, even my friends, say how much I've grown, from college to even my beginner markets and just when I first came to Cleveland. But, you just go through life experiences and, as all of us have said, like God is a fundamental part of our lives. Like, if you just stay rooted to him, you'll just see what he has in mind for you.
Well,
So,
I will tell you, I'm one who's watched you.
oh yeah.
Yes.
You are becoming, you're maturing, first of all. The word is maturing. You are maturing not only in your journalism and how you come off on camera, but you're also maturing in what you do in the community and the things you choose to do in the community. I want to say you choose to do because we get a lot of invitations, but we don't always accept them.
They say yes to me.
Only to Heather. Only to Heather we say yes. But Remy, you are blooming because you are really maturing in your craft, because I know you love the craft. You and I have talked about some of the things you want to try and do, but I just see your on-air presence, but I also see your presence at community events and things you do. I've heard you be a keynote speaker. That wasn't happening when you first came here. And I see your comfort level, and here it is, your comfort and your confidence in who you are at this time. And whatever season you're in, you have a confidence and a comfort like, this is me. May not be all good, not all bad, but I am so good in where I am right now. That's a great thing, and it helps people to relate to you. So I really love seeing your maturation process because you really have grown tremendously.
Thank you so much.
And your growth in your craft, but in Christ. Because let me tell you, Remy didn't talk me off a ledge or
Okay, I
two.
thought this was about all of
She's
us, not just the
definitely
Remy show.
You have,
Remy,
you've given me advice, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And you've helped me see things in a whole different perspective as well. So that's who you're becoming. It's like,
Thank you.
And I think that's the benefit of when we talk about, and that's the image.
Yeah.
And who we are.
I guess that's why I have a tough time answering that question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you see people who have answered it for you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if we went around the room, it would be the same thing. Some of the things that Danita would define herself, you would define it differently. You would say it differently, Shannon, and for everyone. And I think that's the beauty of who you are becoming, who we all are becoming. But I think that's the beauty of image. And what image looks like is that we see ourselves in one perspective, but then when people start talking about us, they add a perspective. They were like, I never even thought about that. I never even knew that. And I can even say, listening to you now, the show is Sanctified and Stilettos. I mean, I will say that.
Right.
But listening to you now, when we talk about maturity, is just how often you've mentioned your purpose in Christ in this interview. And so I see that growth. So Remy,
thank you.
Remy becoming.
Becoming.
Remy becoming.
Yes.
So here's one for you all. And I'm looking around the room. I know Shannon gets nervous when I say certain things. But I'm looking around the room. And hair. Hair is a big thing for Black women in general.
Right.
But when we're talking about image, and when we're talking about media image, what people think, what people expect, how people look, I remember probably, I don't even know how many years, probably now almost close to 15 years, is when I decided to get rid of my relaxer. And I got rid of my relaxer for the benefit of my niece. And I never wanted her to think that she had to conform to normalized standards of what her hair should look like. And so that was one of my main reasons. And now, even with my work, I use my hair as a talking piece. And I've said this, if you accept me with red hair, braids, and everything else, how come you don't accept the department assistant? How come you don't accept the facilities worker the same way? And so when you think about that, because I know, Shannon, we've had conversations about how your hair has caused some drama on the set. Especially when you straighten it. And when you straighten it.
So people didn't like it when you straightened it?
Well, I think people, this is what people forget. Okay, when I came to Cleveland, I was the weekend evening anchor. So people did not see me as much because my hair was curly. I had also straightened it before. In the morning, that's different because it is a lot of people. It's a lot more people watching. People, I will straighten my hair and sometimes people will be like, I like your hair better curly. I like it. I like it curly. Why you change it? I've had people when even just a few weeks ago, I had straightened it. I said, I got to get a trim every once in a while now, okay? But I straightened it and somebody was like, thank God you finally switched it up. I said, now listen.
Wow.
You can never, I don't even really, it doesn't faze me because it's like at the end of the day, you're never going to make anybody happy. We all know that. It doesn't matter what we do, dress, say, act. You're never going to make everybody happy. I love my hair the way it is. It's very reflective of my personality. And I had an old coworker say that to me before. She was like, you look beautiful either way. But she was like, your curly hair just really fits you. And I was like, I know. That's why I love rocking it. But it's interesting what people share their opinions about.
Shannon, I also loved your Instagram posts when you were talking about the evolution of your hair. I think that got to know you in a different perspective because I would have assumed that you always wore it straight. But I love to see how you experiment with the colors. So I thought that was really nice.
And honestly, I would tell you
that was an issue too, wasn't it? When you colored your hair once.
Well, it was because we had shot something that was gonna run and it was one color, it was much darker, and then but I had to tell people, I said, look, I did not think of y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't keeping you in mind when I was like my hair appointment. You know you gotta wait weeks.
Yes,
I said, listen, I was just trying to get in a chair. I was just trying to get in a chair. I was not thinking, hey, I gotta do this. I said, no, I did, and so I had colored it, and so it was even an adjustment for me, but it took me to like rebuild my confidence. You know what I mean? Even when I started wearing my hair curly, that added to the confidence. Because just in my skills set, who I am as a person, as a woman, like all of that all works together. And I think people don't realize that. So when you give compliments, it's cool, but also just think about when you try to downplay somebody's hair, like it's all tied together.
And I know I used to get dressed to my hair. So depending on what my hair looked like, determined what I wore. And if it was a hat day, then I made the outfit was gonna match the hat.
That makes sense.
And what was interesting is when I was really when I was doing modeling and acting, is that my headshot. So this is one of the things about that is that my hair had to match my headshot and how it was booked. And so I learned to buy wigs. And so I bought wigs that matched what my headshot looked like because my hair was always changed. Like I'm not the person that's gonna have the same hairstyle. My friends tease me. I think I've had now the same hairstyle for the longest period of time that I ever have in my life.
Really?
And that's in wearing the braids. Because outside of that, my hair would be cut off. It would be long. It might be short on one side.
The last time I saw you definitely.
That's
you said what?
So the last time I saw you, it was not braids.
And so it's funny because I don't need to let the camera know, but I'm letting this part of this side grow in. And so when you letting it grow in, you gotta hide what's happening on the side. But because there's a lot happening underneath these braids. But it's one of those things that people don't realize how much your hair dictates. But here was the other thing for me, and I don't know if this happens in the newsroom, is the makeup artists and hairstylists that I got, they couldn't do black hair.
What makeup artists and hairstylists?
Makeup artists and hairstylists. Yeah, they many cannot.
So I'm glad I stayed with my little acting and modeling. At least I got pampered. But the issue with women.
Local news, there are no makeup artists. We the makeup artists.
That's the biggest
You
mistake.
too,
That is
University.
hairstylist. That's a huge
Y'all hear that?
misconception.
They don't even get makeup artists.
Well, at my previous station, the one I'm not at now, we had one for the evenings, not for mornings. But we did have one. They used to have two when I first got to the station, but they did have them for the evening anchors. They did bring in a makeup artist who one was African American, one was not. So I applaud them for having two. But most of the time, you don't have one at all. Like they don't have one at all now. And most of them who are not a person of color don't know how to do people of color. Let one of them do your face. You'll find out. Not all of them are trained. Not all of them are trained to know how to do it. The other thing I'm going to say is thank God for the Crown Act. because in television news, there was a time when you couldn't wear braids.
Yes.
And there was a time when natural hair was not accepted.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
you were African American, you had to have your hair relaxed. And let's just not go with relaxed. It had to be relaxed, Farrah Fawcett looking hair. So Remy and I would not be accepted, okay? We have relaxed, we keep our short hair, we're brown skin. No, if you were black, you were light skin, Farrah Fawcett hair. So that used to be the norm for the longest time. So people like Remy and I, we would never even think that we could be in front of the camera because if you are black, our skin isn't right and our hair isn't right, right? So it is that we have evolved so that now braids and natural like Sia, like Shannon, like Tiffany Tarpley, you know, that they can wear their natural hairstyles, and it is now, whether people like it or not, you can't fire them because of it.
Yeah. Even when I first got in the business, I remember in college, I was like, my hair was really long. I said, I got to cut it in layers in order to get a job. And I cut it in layers. It was straight and I cut it in layers. Because I was like, no, I got to fit the look.
You got to fit the look.
That's what it was.
See, let's talk about you. Because you don't fit the look.
No, I don't.
You don't fit the image. You don't. Now you are our image.
I was told that I wouldn't anchor. I was told I wasn't gonna go nowhere. The glasses, the weight, the the natural hair. They're like, you're never gonna do anything because you just look too different. You're too. You gotta change your name. You're too ethnic. You're too all this. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna prove you wrong. You know, and you have. You know,
But you know, it's always
have.
amazing to me how bold people are. Because I had an audition once, and I remember the casting director told me they didn't like my dialect, and I was like, y'all know me. We won't even say it on air, but that was one of those things, and I was like, are you really telling me that you don't like my dialect? And I'm auditioning, and I'm playing a Southern woman.
Oh no!
Oh wow,
Oh,
that's interesting.
come on.
Very
Come on now.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
But see, so here's another point though. In that, how do you deal with the negative pushback?
you know what? You get to the point where you just don't care anymore. But I will say this, you have to get in the game to fight. So I got inside the ring and I fought from the inside.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where you make yourself so good at your craft and your journalism that the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. Like, you can't beat me. You know what I mean? When you're so good at your other stuff, your journalism, you're out in the community, you're doing this, you're doing that, the rest of the stuff becomes secondary.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody in every market, but that is what worked for me. You know, and you become an example, and then you help other people. And that's what I've been able to do.
Because some people only have their image, and that's what they rest on.
Correct.
And that's what they just, they're just there, and that's it. But like she said, you got to be like, I'm valuable in all ways. My looks is not the only thing about me.
I think my hair journey is interesting because I moved to a remote area. So before I got into news, I was just like you, Heather. My hair was changing with the wind. I love that. I'm like, oh, I want braids. So I want to updo. I just changed it. But, you know, you came into the industry and you were told, like, you were going to have a set look. I did have my hair short in college too, because my mom always wore short hair, so I cut it off. But I was like, oh my gosh, who am I going to find to help me maintain my hair? So when I moved to the remote area, I knew it wasn't going to be anybody there to do it. I went to doing wigs. Was not my favorite thing, but I did have a few wigs that I liked. I had this curly wig that I started wearing, and it was a hit. And I was like, oh. But then, you know, as wigs come and go, it started to get old. And it was like, okay, let me try to find another one. Or let me do this bob because I really like bobs. And at that point, I was finishing up my first market going to Flint, so back closer to home. And I was still wearing the wigs and blah, blah, blah. And I remember one day I said, I hate these wigs. They just don't define me. And I went to my news director in Flint and I asked her, I said, hey, I'm ready to wear my real hair. And she was like, go for it. And then I have not looked back since that day. And I'm very grateful that if I need, you know, in the summer, I can wear my braids. Everyone has been accepting, but my short hair, it you know, it grows. You know, whatever happens, I'm just grateful that I did it that day. And I recognized that the wigs were not me. No shade to anyone who wears them, but for me personally, I just felt like it was just fake, and that's not who I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And same, I had a news director too, and I wore a wash and go, y'all, and just washed my hair and went on air, and I was so nervous. But my news director, the night before, I had texted her. I said, "Hey, I got a hair appointment," but it was like so hot in Buffalo. That's where I was. It was like triple digits, and I had been live the whole day or whatever. And I said, "Hey, I'm gonna wash my hair, and this is how it's gonna look tomorrow." And she was a woman. She said, "Girl, whatever you comfortable with." And I said, "Thank you so much." And the next day, I wore it. And that's actually how I started to wear it curly, because I did that, and then I was like, okay, let me try, and I like did flexi rod set and everything, and yeah, I never looked back. But shout out to my new, because I did ask her. I just didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure, like, should I ask? Do I need to? And I'm sure some people were like, you didn't need to ask, but I was like, no, I just felt like, I actually felt she would understand. She was an Italian woman. She wore her hair straight, curly sometimes. Like, I was like, oh, she'll get it.
She'll get it.
Yeah.
She'll
But
understand.
Sunita
She'll
is right, though. Thank God, though, we are to a point where, you know, we can see different representations in media. Because at least when I was coming up, and I'm sure we didn't see it. Like,
see it at
when
all.
I was growing up, all I saw was Oprah and Carol Simpson. That was it. You know, and it was just like, now you turn on the TV, you turn on the local news, and you see people that reflect the community. You see people that look like you. And I love it when I go out in the community and I hear people say that. You know, I see young women and mothers come up to me and they're like, my daughter wears glasses because of you. You know, or she wears her afro because of you. And we take little photos, and I'm just like, oh, you know, that just warms my heart. You know, that warms my heart.
Yeah, because for every negative comment, that's what you remember.
Yep.
It's like, that's all that matters.
So how do you all brush off the negative comments?
Oh, man, I just...
Oh, I laugh.
And especially, I mean, because you get them, I'm sure you get them often. And Shannon, you're on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're on social media. You all are on social media. So besides just that, you're getting it on social media. And I'm sure you probably get it in person. There's some people.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Well, some people give like
yes.
those backhanded comments. Hey,
Oh, you look
like-
so much better in person than you do on TV. That is the number one thing.
That's
what
not
am
a
I supposed to do with
compliment.
that comment?
I know.
It's
So what are you
not.
trying to say? How look? You look so much better in person than you do on TV. Or I thought, yo, you look so much smaller in person. Well, the camera puts, weight on you. These are things that you have to learn how to deal with. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. Everyone who starts in this business, when you first start in front of the camera, your feelings get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about it, because you don't have the thick skin yet.
Yeah.
That there are some things in this industry only time will teach you. You're not going to get it from college. You're not in J school. No. There are some things that you're missing that only time will give you. And
Yes.
one of those is your thick skin. You will learn how to take the comments, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Because if you let those comments penetrate too deep, then you're questioning who you are in front of the camera. Because I'm trying to not do this because Susie from Parma said I do this, and I'm trying not to do that because Joe from Brecksville said I do that. You can't have all that in your head.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it's gonna mess you up a little bit. I cried a lot when I first got in front of TV. But as you go along, you learn how to get comfortable in yourself, and then you learn how to read comments. Some of them are constructive,
Yes,
and I do
yes.
need to change some things. And then the ones that aren't, they roll off of you now instead of penetrating. But in the beginning, yes, you're gonna get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, you just have, you gotta wait till your skin gets tough enough to do it, because anybody who gets in front of that camera, you're a target.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got to
And
understand
that's
that
it,
before
yeah.
you do it. You're a target.
You pick and choose.
Yeah.
We get emails. We see the feedback. I mean, recently I try to kill people with kindness. You know, and someone I replied back. She did not like my Ruby Woo lipstick. She did not like my afro. I mean, she sent an email from Avon Lake and was just like, this DEI hire with her red lipstick and her afro. And I said, bless your heart. Thank you for watching. And I just kept repeating it and repeating it. Do you know that woman ended up writing me a thank you card and replied and apologized to me? And apologized to me, a handwritten note, and was like, I am so sorry. I was going through this. And I have it on my desk. I just kept killing her with kindness.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I was going to say, what people fail to realize, and I do say this in a very nice way, is that there are a lot of things they don't teach us in journalism school, and how to wear your hair and what looks best on you on air. They don't really teach that.
Yeah, no.
When I was coming up in journalism school, it was put a blazer on. That was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't, oh, green is your color, or this is your color,
Right.
or this is your color foundation. So I tell people, like, you have to remember, most people, we don't grow up knowing how to do makeup. You just learn trial by error, and there are no makeup classes in journalism school.
No.
You learning that on your first day of your first job in a market. So I always tell people, like, hey, if you are like, wow, her makeup's looking kind of crazy, maybe suggest, in a nice way, but maybe be like, hey, I know some makeup artists. Or if you're one, say, I could do your makeup for free, because nobody's trying to pay for it anyway. It's just like, do those kind of things, because we don't come out the womb and be on TV and know it all.
We
Like, we
don't.
don't. It's
We
trial and error.
We don't.
And I think what happens is, and I go back to what I said earlier, is this whole celebrity status that you all have that I know you don't recognize, but the public puts you in this perception, in this persona of being a celebrity, and so they think that you have all these things.
Yeah.
Correct.
They think, I can guarantee you that there are people running around in Cleveland that believe that y'all got an entourage following you all, doing your makeup, fixing
Danita
your hair,
does,
picking
'cause
out
she
your
Danita
clothes.
Cleveland.
Yes. and they also think we're millionaires.
Girl.
Now I know that for a fact. They
Wait.
think we are millionaires.
So
they
my
think we have
mom-
so much money.
My
They do.
mom texted our group chat the other day, and she said, look at this. And it was a Google thing, and it said Shannon Smith this is her net worth, 1 billion to something, 1 million to something. I said, girl, I
Yeah.
said her meme so
Yeah.
quick. I said,
Yeah.
you think I still be working if that was my net worth?
Right. But it's
Say
because often what happens is that celebrity status puts people in a mindset of, you got to be a millionaire. You got to be
That's
a
right.
billionaire. And
That's
so
right. It's not true.
they misinterpret
Yeah.
that. How do you all manage the attention,
Oh,
especially the public attention when you're out?
Well, I'm an extrovert. I'm a 29
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs out of 30. I'm 29 extrovert. Cause so I feed off of people. I love meeting people, and that's my natural thing. Now I need to unplug sometime from people, but when I'm out and I'm in certain stores or whatever like that, they're gonna come up to you, and they're gonna and I've had one lady hit me in my arm so hard one time, Danita, and I was like, ooh, like your first reaction is to like, but you have to watch yourself. So how do I deal with
Because
it?
you can't slap her back.
I can't slap her back. I can't cuss her out.
No.
But the thing
could
is,
if you frowned upon.
here's what anyone who gets in front of the camera, you have to realize is that when you go out, it's almost like a good thing people are coming up to you because they're watching.
yes. Yes.
If they're not coming up to you, they're not watching you.
Yeah,
so
no,
part of
you
it
are.
is, wow, I thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for doing this or whatever. So part of that is show gratitude and be nice so they can continue to watch you. Everyone doesn't grasp that.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
should grasp that. Those who don't want to be bothered with the people, leave me alone. I want to be, these people, you're coming in their living room, their bedroom, their
Yes.
kitchen,
And they know you.
They feel like they know you.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, Cleveland really loves their TV personalities.
Yes.
And
Yes,
they
they
want to
do.
know, they want to shake your hand, they want to take pictures. If you are antisocial, it will work against you.
Yes.
I'm just going
Yes.
to tell you, it's going to work against you. So best to be good with people, but know it ahead of time when you step out of your house.
Yeah.
It can happen anywhere.
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 Yeah.
So
was in
I'm
Walmart,
an
yeah.
introverted extrovert. People are always surprised to find that out. And I am, and I love people. I love community. I love talking. But I reach my point where I'm like, okay,
Yes.
and then I will Irish goodbye and go home and unplug
We love it.
until I put it back on, and then I can come.
You will Irish goodbye in a moment.
You have to. You also
look
have
left,
to
right, like, all right, when I say I'm about to head on out of here,
I'm out.
that means start giving the hugs, because in a minute I'm gonna head
be
on
gone.
out. And you're like, where did she go?
See,
Yeah.
see it don't do she's not giving you hugs or saying goodbye.
She
No,
just
I mean
did
right
it.
there.
She
No,
just
I'm
did
saying
it.
right
She
there when
just-
I say I'm about to head on out.
you leaving.
You better start, because I'm ahead.
that's-
Because
yeah.
then you start.
Talking
Oh
too
hey,
much.
I'm like, dang it, no,
get
you
out.
don't. I just head on out.
So y'all do the Irish. I have a I have a bad habit. And when I say goodbye, I can't get out
See,
fast
no,
enough.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
want to. You choose not to.
You choose not to. You just keep your head down.
No.
And you keep on trucking.
I kind of am too. Yeah.
that I can find. Like I'll be in the grocery store and other places where I'm ducked behind stuff because
Yeah.
I see
Really?
somebody. Oh yeah, if I see
Oh,
it,
I
I don't
don't
want to
think
speak and I don't want to
never-
talk. Oh yeah.
I
It's not- it is a part of the job.
I run to the checkout
Yeah.
line so I can make sure I get out the grocery
Now,
store.
excuse me,
Okay.
miss, you gotta pay for your stuff. Excuse me, excuse me.
I ain't leaving the grocery store.
Excuse me, get somebody
I
stop.
want to report on you.
No,
Listen,
but
right.
I'm an extrovert, but I'm introverted.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think a lot of us
Yeah, we
are.
talked
We
about
talked
being
about
on our
sitting on
couch.
our couch. I'm like, listen.
Like any
bra
given
off
day,
on
once
the couch.
Oh, for sure.
Once I've been on,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what people fail to realize. My best friend told me that. I used to complain, like, man, I'm so tired, but I didn't want to complain that to her because she has a
Yeah.
child. And she said, but what you do, you give so much energy. It
takes
is
energy.
not an easy feat to be on TV for as long as we're on, to be running around all day, to get a story together, because stories are everything that you see that's shot on the air. It's on that day. We shoot it that day. So all of that is very tiring. It takes a lot of energy,
And
especially
then
us to be
doing
up as early.
community events on your own time.
On the weekends, yeah.
Long time.
When do you all feel most confident and powerful?
Every day.
Yeah. Oh, come
I
on.
love that. Every
Yeah.
day.
Every
Like,
day.
every day. Even
Is
if
there
I'm going to
anything-
the grocery store with my I use my scarf. I put a hat on so I look presentable. But yeah, you want to talk? They'll be like, "Ooh, you look so good." I'm like,
Listen, Remy always gets stopped.
"You said I always what?"
You can always get stopped.
That's what
on the
everybody says, and I
streets.
don't know how. But I'm like every day, like I'm confident enough to just put on my little hat and just run on out. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about when you're most comfortable? Where are you most comfortable?
Oh.
I am comfortable in front of the camera.
Yes.
I'm very comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah,
I don't have
I
a
am.
problem at the desk or
On the desk,
or
yeah.
interviewing people. I'm very comfortable.
Yeah.
And people
So
have
for
told
our
me that
listening audience explain
Yeah.
the desk.
So
versus
the anchor
Oh.
desk when you're at the
they're
desk
the
or
desk.
whatever.
I'm the field.
You know, the
I'm
camera.
both.
Yeah, the camera needs to be your friend. You're talking to a friend. But even when I'm interviewing someone live, people they say, "Thank you for making me feel comfortable."
Yes.
One of the things you got to do is, because if you're comfortable, that should translate. But also make people feel comfortable by talking to them a little bit before you're going to ask the question.
Yeah.
I am very comfortable with the camera. The camera is my friend. The camera is me connecting. The camera really is when I'm saying something right now that, we got to realize we are in a powerful medium.
Yes.
And that we have the power to influence.
Yes.
And so whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying, whoever you're bringing to the table, I don't bring this up as Black women in media, Blacks period. Realize what you're bringing to the table. 95% of your newsroom does not know the stories you know. You have a responsibility to bring that to the table.
Oh, yeah.
Bring that to the table and represent that at the table, okay? Not just bring the story, but also bring experts who are of color, because 95% of them don't know them, okay? And they're not going to do it. And bring these people. This is where we have our influence. This is where we have our importance, because we can bring that to a newsroom that is ignorant of these people, because they can live that way and stay ignorant. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. So I think that is something that we as Black women in media and Blacks in general, or Hispanic, we bring that to the table. Let's get some Latino psychologists in here to talk about this. Let's get an African American doctor. Let's get a woman doctor. My Mind Matters segment, which is mental health, I make sure I've brought in Black women psychologists, Dr. So-and-so, so because they don't know who these people are, but we do.
Yeah.
Bring that to the table. Bring it up in the meetings. Pitch it, because they're not going to. That is on us.
Yeah.
That is something that we carry that no one else carries.
And that's what Sia said earlier. I think a lot of times people will complain about media, and I get it. You don't like the news, that's fine too. A lot of us don't. It's a lot going on. But we didn't get into these spaces just to be on TV.
Correct.
We got
No.
into these spaces to create change. We got
Yes.
into these spaces. There have been times I got into not full-fledged arguments, but I'd be like, no, actually, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, you need to be careful of this. And even when it comes to, yes, being on the desk versus being a reporter who is outside, basically everybody who you see outside is a reporter out in the field, and then anchors are the ones that sit behind the desk or in the studio the whole time. But I tell people there's power and influence in each of those roles.
Correct.
Especially behind the scenes. I'm
Yeah.
always, when we're hiring, I'm always always out here looking for people because there's more influence even being a producer, being behind the scenes. You're the one creating the show.
Yes.
But that's how, when you want to say, I want things to change, that's how they're going to change. You got to infiltrate these spaces and get into these positions to say, okay, then you can be the ones to say, because I'm very vocal in my newsroom about what we're covering, how we're covering it, the impact that it has on the people that we're talking to, and just making everybody aware of that. Because yes, you came into journalism for whatever reason, but you also maybe came in and I need to have the facts, I need to have this, but you forget. I tell people all the time, the pandemic taught us two things: don't mess with people's money, and you need to make sure your mind is right.
Yeah.
And with those two things, that's how news has changed since the pandemic, on how we cover things and what we're covering. All that has shifted.
Yeah.
How did, and listening to you, Shannon, and talking about just speaking up and going into the business for change, was it a defining moment when you all found your voice to be able to speak up in the newsroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took years.
Yeah.
Do you have one defining moment that you can share that actually said, you know what, this is it. I'm tired of seeing it this way. This is how why I'm speaking up.
When I was in Buffalo years ago, I was working on the weekends. I was a weekend reporter. And our on-call manager was like, it was like maybe May. It was starting to get warm outside. And, the age-old, sun's out, guns out, everybody's getting shot. No, that wasn't. That's what they were kind of trying to do that story with, because there was a shooting, and I think there may have been 2 shootings in a weekend. And I told her, I said, respectfully, I'm not doing that. And I said, here's why. I have spoken to peaceful organizations. I talk to police all the time. That's not the case. So I'm not going to frame that narrative that that's what I'm saying. And I told her, I said, respectfully, I'm actually not going to do that. We can do a story about XYZ and here, but I'm not about to create that. That's actually not true. Here's why. I spoke to these officers can speak to that. This peaceful organization that I speak to all the time can speak to that. Because I told her, do you think that people, that would mean that people aren't getting shot in the wintertime? It's violence all the time. So that's not the narrative that really is correct. And we have to be careful on how we're saying that. And I remember she respected it and was like, okay, well, what else are we going to do? And I said, here's another, this is what else we can do. Because if you're going to say no, you also got to have another solution.
You got to bring another alternative. You do.
You
can't
just be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. You got to be like, no, I can do something else. Here's what I have.
True. That is so true. When I did my podcast, Voices for Change, at this previous station I used to work for, and I did a thing on being a black journalist during the time of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, because I felt that no one was being sensitive to the black media, to the black reporters that are going out, to the riot that happened in downtown Cleveland, and that one of my reporters was called the N-word while she was out on her morning shot. That no one's thinking about that this isn't just a story to us, this is our lives. And I asked, could I do this podcast? And I want to do it, I want to interview, I'm gonna have all the black journalists and producers that's working in this newsroom, and we're gonna tell you our story. We're gonna tell you how we really feel. That was me stepping up, saying something that was very personal to me, and I was feeling all my stuff, but doing a podcast and being able to get that across, that these are things that y'all aren't paying attention to. You are assigning us a story, but this story is not just a story to us, it's our lives. And I was so grateful that they allowed us to tell what we were feeling and how we were feeling, how I was resenting. I'm a mother of a black son. I got to go home and have a conversation with him about what's happening. So we were allowed to do that in the podcast. It actually won an Edward R. Murrow Award, which I was very happy for. But that was stepping up. That was stepping out of the comfort zone. Yeah, this is going to be uncomfortable, and some of y'all not going to like what we're about to say. But you know what? This is our truth. Come on. We're not asking you you're going to understand everything that we says, but lean in a little bit. Lean in a little bit. I'm tired of looking at the rundown, and I'm the black person always saying the black stories, and my white counterpart only has the white stories. No, let my white counterpart talk about George Floyd. Let my white counterpart go see the Walker, the guy that died in Akron. Let the white counterparts cover some of this stuff. They're not going to feel like I feel it, but they can lean into it, and that is something in newsrooms where you have to speak up. You've got to say things, and sometimes not just say things, but you got to do something. You got to do something.
How do you, and this is for Remy and Sia as we kind of come, but I want to bring you all back in. How do you protect your personal life from the public?
Gosh, that's so hard. Because this is the thing. I tell people what I put on social media is what I put on social media. And if I don't want you to know, I'm not putting it on social media. We all have private lives, you know, and so, you know, I mean, I'll just leave it at that.
And the reason
That's the
Mind your
answer
business.
right
That's
there.
a great answer.
the reason
Great
I
answer.
You
ask
share what you want or you share what you don't.
You share what you want, but very often what happens is because you are in everyone's living room, kitchen,
Yeah.
wherever every day, people think they know you.
Yes.
Sure.
And they think they have a right to know your personal life.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
to know what's happening in your personal life.
I
Who
wouldn't,
you dating?
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Remy, they do. You
Yeah, they do.
They do.
They do.
Well,
And
they may think it,
Yeah.
and I may think what I think, but
Yeah.
no one has
They're not gonna say
outwardly
it.
expressed it.
I once wore a ring on this finger. It was just gold rings I wore, and people were like, "Are you married? Did you get married?" I
It
did this."
amazes me what they pay attention to.
I said,
they
now
know what
what?
rings is on your finger,
Yes.
off your finger.
But also
And
may
they
not look at the
and I
emails
think
I
as
get.
women, since we're all women, when you are the single woman, you got to be the girl next door, the granddaughter, the blah 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 blah. When you're married, then you're the good wife. You're the great. You have a kid. You're the great mom. They want to know all your mom stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when you're married, sometimes I don't find they want to know so much about marriage stuff with you and your husband, but they like to see pictures of you and your husband sometimes on
Yeah.
social media and things like that. But I do think you have to have boundaries, and I agree with
Yes.
Sia. You got to draw a line. I'll show you what I want you to know, what I don't want you to know, and you're gonna think what you want to think anyway. So
Yeah.
you know, I can't control that.
Yeah, and
so you got to be careful.
I actually to keep it personal, but I don't even like tag my family because people are just.
They'll
Wow.
follow,
My
yeah.
mom used to be on
Yeah.
Facebook commenting all the time. I said, "No, you got to stop.
Got to stop.
I said, "You got to
cannot
chill,"
respond.
because
Yeah.
people will probably try to friend you, like
Yeah.
on some real. They
Of
will,
course,
you know.
of
And I
course.
said, "You,
Of
you
course
can't
they
do
will.
that."
Not
Of course.
probably, they will.
I
They
know.
will.
I
They
said,
will.
she's like,
No,
"What?"
they
I
will.
said, "No,
Yeah.
They will.
stop.
Yeah.
Or I'm
I've
gonna
seen
block
it,
you."
And I've seen it with Danita's mom. So
Yeah.
I've witnessed that with
Yes,
Danita's mom.
yes.
How many people gravitate.
Yeah.
Right.
Her, you know, her mom has a big personality anyways, but how many people gravitate to her because of Danita?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they will try to find you. How does faith impact who you are, your image, and what you do?
I couldn't do this without God. Period.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it without God. God put me in front of the camera. Period. Because I had so much fear of the camera, right? And the responsibility that came with being in front of the camera. So my faith in God, my belief in God, my relationship with God, I could not be a journalist still today if I didn't have my relationship with God, because what we have to say every day is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And if you didn't have a belief in a higher power, a hope in a God that has never failed you, there's no way I could still be anchoring. There's no way I would still be in journalism, because it is getting worse and worse and worse. So my faith in God, my relationship in God is everything. It gives me what I need to go beyond the desk and help people, because let's be for real, sometimes it ain't in our flesh, you know, it's because God is calling me and this is who I am. It's part of my spiritual DNA. Not Danita's thing, but it's God's thing. So that is something, and I've said this a million times, I've said it publicly. There's not one day at Channel 3 at 4 a.m. in that makeup room you're going to hear praise and worship
Come on,
music,
somebody, yes.
because I cannot do the news and not have my cup full of him before I can digest and regurgitate the horrible things that go on in this world today, and also maintain a spirit of hope and brightness to give you little segments of laughter. That requires me to tap into him. And if I don't have that, then I cannot do this. And I mean, it has gotten harder and harder, but greater is he that's in me than anyone and anything that's in the
Come on,
world.
Pastor.
So that is my faith is my everything. It's
Yeah.
everything.
More than 7 years ago, I found God. God has, looking back, he's always ordered your steps and had his little hand on you. Like Danita said, I wouldn't be sitting here had it not been for God. You know, people counted me out and go to J school. You know, I built my, the video resume to get into someone's newsroom at my internship. I remember going to people and not getting the best feedback, but I just kept the faith, like it's only gonna take one. And it literally took one.
Yeah.
And so I say that God found me because I went to this remote place. Oh no, I found God. I went to this remote place away from all distractions. And then you look back like, I see why you had to do everything in order to, like Danita was, in order for me to be who I am, like Danita said, you know, I have to spend at least an hour doing my morning devotionals. You know, sometimes on the week I do slip up, don't get me wrong, but I'm back on it.
Yeah.
Because I know how important it is for me to feed that into my system so I know how to turn it on and turn it off. Like, you know, we report on people's worst days. And I always sit there in amazement like, wow, I'm just about to go home and I'm gonna be okay. And that is something that I do not take for granted because I'm still thinking about you, but I'm okay in my space too. And I can only credit God to that and just strengthening and building that relationship and spending intentional time because like Danita said, it is hard what we do. It is hard and that's just it.
Yeah, I love that, especially going to the remote. And sometimes, you know, God has to separate us
Yeah.
in order to get our attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when we constantly going and when we busy, he can't grab us the way he
Yeah.
needs to.
Yep.
But if he separates and strips
Yep.
you and pull everything away, you have nowhere but to go.
Got my attention.
Yeah.
God has set me down so many times. I mean, I think about my journalism journey. He's put me here, here, here. And I mean, there were times where I was like, why? Why did you have, why? And then I'd look back and I'm like, that's why he did what he did, so you could get here, you know? And I look back and I'm like, and that's why now, when you're aging, you know, I don't worry as much because I'm just like, when has he ever failed, Sia? Like, when has he ever failed? Like, you know it all works out. Like, it's always worked out. And when you get older and wiser, you'll be like, okay. And that's why I'm not as anxious in that regard, because I'm just like, see, you know, this is going to work out.
Right, because it comes in that relationship. And
Yeah.
his word says, be anxious for nothing, but in all things, through thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And I think that's the thing, is that when you start working on that relationship, that relationships helps you to be anchored and to find peace in the midst of the storm. And like for you all, to be able to have to report on stories that are heart-wrenching, stories that tear you apart.
Yes.
That's
And I always say it's not only my faith, but the faith of those around me. I know that I'm only here because of my grandparents' prayers, my parents' prayers, like my friends' prayers over me. That's why, because I've lived in so many different cities and states across the country. I moved with no money. I lived there with no money. I also moved there not knowing a soul, not having any friends or family close by, and yet I was still able to work and live and be there. And just being able to live in these different cities and states, I always look back and I'm like, yeah, that was only God. Like, God covered me the entire time. And that's because, I was of my relationship, but also those around me.
Amen. Amen.
And if I could just say this, Heather, and I always say this to people, like the day I stop feeling compassion or sadness or anger, like about what's happening in our community, or, you know, despair, like, I'm like, that's the day it's time for me to put down the microphone. That's the day it's time for me to exit. You know, because I never want to be so, you know, just blah that I don't feel. You know, like, because we're human. We're supposed to.
Yes.
Like I feel like I'm supposed to go home and feel. I'm supposed to go home and cry. I'm supposed to absorb this. I'm supposed to, you know, like, let me do my part. I can't do this, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I tell that to people. I'm like, we all have to do our part. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shine a light this way so that this action can happen, so that these people can raise awareness, so that this can happen this way. Like, if we all do our part, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I thank you all. But before we close, the name of the show, as we just talked about, is Sanctified and Stilettos. And so we talk about our God moments, and I think we are all anchored in faith. That faith is what has gotten each and every one of us to the point that we're at today. I think that faith will continue to carry us in how we prosper. But here at Sanctified and Stilettos, and purposely the and, is that it's where saved meets sexy. And so where you look and you see you some sexy women, y'all some sexy women, like, don't underestimate.
Wow.
But one of the things that we do on Sanctified in Stilettos is we talk about shoes.
All right.
Okay.
Right.
And I know Shannon and Remy feeling some type of way.
I am feeling-
But here's the
I'm
thing.
not.
But here's the thing. is
Come
that-
on, so real.
But here's
Make
the
me
thing.
laugh.
Stilettos is just an image. Stilettos is the image that we use, and one because it's multifaceted.
Yes.
Is that you can wear stilettos with a pair of jeans.
Yes, you
wear
can.
stilettos
Yes.
with your
Mhm.
dress.
Yes.
You can wear stilettos anyway, but stilettos get a bad rap
Yes.
because often, very times
Yes.
with stilettos, then you looked at as the HOE.
Come
You
on.
looked at as a person in a strip club.
Yep.
You looked at this person negatively. So stilettos have gotten a bad rap,
Yes.
y'all. We didn't know that. We've turned it into being a sexy shoe.
Yes.
And we've reclaimed the
Yeah,
stiletto.
yes.
We've reclaimed the stiletto. And so just for a moment, we got to talk about shoe choices
Yes.
and how this defines who you are and why today that shoe.
I gotta go to work. These are comfortable
Those
and
are
feel
so cute, though.
fashionable, and that's the simple answer.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Fashionable shoes make who we are. Because any day, now if you see me out,
Yeah.
typically you're going to see me in tennis shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to see me in tennis shoes. Rock, it may be my Nikes, it may be my Chucks, it may be
Love
my
'em.
New Balance, my Adidas, but you're going to see me in some tennis shoes.
Because
Right.
you running
Except
around,
for
you
now,
got
I'm going to have on my
moves.
spirit boots and my boots.
Listen, I got on my Sorels because I'm probably going to be out covering snow. But I keep heels and pumps at the station because when it's time to get on the desk. But I am known to wear sneakers and dresses.
Yes, you do
You
that
will see
well.
me.
They look so cute.
Yes.
I love that.
I
Yeah.
had a friend to tell me if I don't stop saying tennis shoes and if I don't start saying sneakers,
Sneakers.
I say gym shoes.
I think
Sneakers.
it's also
Yeah.
regional.
Gym shoes.
Of where
It
you're
was.
from.
Yep.
This
We say
determines
sneakers.
how
We did.
many
Yeah.
words you say. And Shannon got on her rain boots today because
I
it
do.
is
It's a
raining.
little
It's raining.
platform. It is raining.
But they
Exactly.
cute.
And they're nice and
cute.
comfortable.
And
I
they're
also
cute.
went to work already, so this is my nap time, and so I'll be comfortable.
And here's the funny thing. This might be one of the few times I've ever seen you dressed down.
Oh, that is true, because I am usually, and I am dressed up. And at work, I do have on a heel. Now, I will slip into my little Uggs right after or during sometimes. But yeah, I usually have heels in my car and behind the desk or at my desk. Yeah.
And probably because the things that I invite you to or ask you to do for me usually are required.
Oh, yeah.
Us not to be in jeans
Mhm.
most times.
Heels.
And Danita got on a red pump.
I wore the
She
red because I
changed.
knew I was told to. Heather and ordered me. I knew I had to wear my red now. What I wore to work today, I had this, but I had on sneakers.
Oh wow.
Okay, I
so
came
you
in
said
here.
that-
So I
yeah.
came in
You
with my
did.
little.
She
I had
did.
my bling bling sneakers.
does have a bling
But I like heels. But I do like heels.
I do.
I do love heels. I will put a heel on. I ain't got no shame in my game. I love a heel. I can run in a heel. I love a heel. Okay, I got heels.
In
Yeah.
the sanctuary.
Don't ever get
And
a heel
that's-
you can't
and when
run
I'm
in.
preaching,
just
I'm preaching
saying.
in
Don't ever
heels.
get a heel. And I preach. I love heels.
I love heels. You do, and you
I
preach-
preach in heels, but
you
I
do
come out
preach
of
in
my
heels.
heels.
Okay.
Heather gonna take them
I
heels
preach-
off and
I
go
wear
barefoot.
shoes.
She gonna wear
I
barefoot.
preach. I don't
Yeah,
wear
she gonna
shoes
take
at
them off.
Oh, at all.
At all. I
She
take them
starts
off.
with them.
I start, and
But
then
she
I
gonna take
slide.
'em off.
So you'll never see
Yeah.
me. If I'm preaching, you'll never see me in a strappy shoe. You'll always see me in a slide heel pump.
Oh,
that
so
I
she
can
could
come
just-
out of. Yep.
'Cause
So
she
I
comes out of
purposely
'em.
have-
Okay,
She
Fantasia.
does come out of them.
Yeah, I hear
Fantasia.
that.
Yeah, Fantasia.
But
Okay,
I will say
Fantasia.
though,
I was gonna say Patti LaBelle, Fantasia.
that my
uh-huh.
shoes are
Those
actually
are
a gift of
cute.
Danita's mom.
Oh, those are really
These
cute.
today, because
Yes.
These are from Danita's mom.
Those
Yes.
are really
So
cute.
these are my shoes today. But as soon as I walk off the set, I will have on my.
Because she
And I
had
will
on
have on my
some
sneakers. Yes, I will put my sneakers
Already
back on.
prepared.
Yes, yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Right, the Cleveland elements are
Exactly.
real, and
Yeah.
so I thank you all.
Thank
I
you.
Thank you.
This has been a great conversation, and I hope our audience has really gotten something from it to understand that they are human and they are people, y'all. So when you see them in the grocery store, stop slapping Danita. Don't yell Shannon's name like she's your sister. I'm just kidding. But you see how personable they are, and so I thank you, Remy, Shannon, Danita, Sia, for saying yes and being a part of this podcast in this episode of Sanctified and Stilettos, where saved and sexy intersect. Again, thank you all. Tune in. Make sure you catch us on every social media platform as well as anywhere where you can get your podcast. Listen, like, and love. Take care.